Hey, it's Tammy, I'm back, and this is actually going to be my first of I don't know how many and I don't know how frequently videos on human design and different relationships. And I'm going to focus more on like a possible dating kind of relationship just because that's where I am right now. But these types of things also are transferred to families, to, you know, there's a whole bunch on how you can relate to your kids, like all sorts of things that understanding the basics about the relationships can help you with in all relationships, even working relationships. So I don't know how far I'm going to get into this. I'm going to try and keep them kind of brief because I have things to do, you have things to do, we all have things to do. But I think that some of the information is important, and I think it may also be self-serving in that it might help me understand some things that I am working through right now. So, mainly being patient. I'm very impatient, I'll be totally honest with you. So, basically, to review, each type in the human design system has a certain strategy that they're supposed to follow. So I will go through each type and what their strategy is. So there's a manifester. Manifestors actually have energy to the throat to be able to say things and to be heard, and generally can act immediately on what their desires are and have a result. There comes a little bit of an area when you're dealing with somebody who's an emotional manifester, in the way that you have to make sure that according to your emotional wave, whether you're up that day or down that day, what you're saying and what you want and what you're going for is truly what you want to go for. I'm sure we've all had days where you feel really down and you're like, oh my God, I just want a relationship, blah, and you go out and you find one, and just to settle that nagging. And you may find, if you're a manifester and you have an emotional solar plexus defined, that particular relationship at that particular time is not your best choice. So just wait it out a little bit. I don't think you have to wait it out a long time. You'll be able to figure that out yourself. I'm not really a manifester, so I can't say for sure. But I do know that many manifestors turn stuff around rather quickly. Now, in that strategy of being able to do things, you have to be able to take the time to tell other people what it is you're trying to do. So, for a manifestor in certain situations, if you're pushing too hard, or if you are not saying what you want, like say you're hanging out with somebody and you want to be more than friends, but you're kind of treating them like a friend and you don't have the discussion that you want to be more than friends, then that kind of stuff can get a little messy. Also, manifestors in general, because they don't have that sacral energy, but they want to move so fast, sorry, I was just rethinking something. I'm leaving that in there too because I think that was pretty weird. Anyway, in a business relationship, you might have a manifestor who runs a business, and they do everything themselves, from sorry, I didn't turn off my text messages. I'm a mess. So anyway, a manifestor doesn't always have the energy to push through and finish what they're trying to do. So they need others to help them. So in a relationship with a manifestor will pull in other energies to help them get to their end result. Done with manifestors. A reflector is so open, and their thing is to wait and get input from other people. So a reflector needs like a moon cycle, they call it, or 28 days to really gather enough information to make a decision. So if I mean, think about that in like a dating relationship. Somebody asks you on a date, you're a reflector, and you kind of have to, your best way of entering into that relationship is to say, hold on, I'm not sure yet, and make them wait a month. I mean, it can't be wonderful. So in that respect, it's possible to, before you get to a point where you meet somebody, although sometimes you meet somewhere out of the blue, you gather the information that you need to make a decision. But if you're making a decision about, you know, like buying a car or a specific person and not just like a dream of what you want, it's really better for you to wait it out. So it could be, say you meet somebody online, for example, maybe you should talk to them for a month before you finally decide if you're going to meet them or not. And I know in the fast-paced world of online dating, that isn't always an option, but I guess I'll say if they're worth it, they can wait it out. Or, you know, go through someone else and come back to them later, whatever your preference. So that's for a reflector. A projector, theirs is, they are best served if they wait to be invited, or they have the option of inviting and creating an invitation for someone else to accept. But the key to that is if the person says no. So if you say, hey Tammy, you want to go out for lunch, and I say, oh no, sorry, I can't this week, don't say, what about next week, what about next month, what about next year, what about, you know, 2 weeks from Tuesday. Just say okay and leave it. Because what that's going to do to someone like me is it's going to be like, oh, they just said okay, well, maybe I should go out with them next week, you know, and then I'll present the invitation that that person can then respond to, that projector can respond to. So with generators and manifesting generators, they're pretty much the same. There's just a slight difference. A generator has to wait for something to respond to, or give somebody something to respond to. So it's similar to that invitation. I can say to somebody, you know, do you want to hang out next week? You know, they might say yes or no. They can ask me if I want to hang out next week. I can say yes or no. What makes the manifestor a little different is the manifestor can actually voice something prior to it happening and kind of pull it to them quicker. Something to remember in all of this is that it is pretty much, I would say, to some degree, human nature to respond differently to things like rejection or not answering and things like that. But also the energy of projectors, the energy of a generator, and even the energy of a reflector. If you're quiet and you wait, what you're waiting for tends to show up a little quicker. So if somebody, you know, wants me to go out today at, I don't know, 4 o'clock, and I don't respond right now and it's 3:20, it's gonna build like an anxiety. And then they're gonna want it more. So that can happen. We'll get more into that with some other things, but that covers the types and the strategies of how to do things. Now, what you can do is look at whatever relationship you're in right now, whether it's a dating relationship, a friendship, a job, and think about how you got into that situation. So I know specifically when I'm thinking in my head that this person reached out to me with a question, and I answered their question, and then they asked if they could give me a call, and I decided they could give me a call. So right there's that interaction. Now, if you look at, say, a dating site, people are doing two things, and where you fall on that is depending on your type. But so people are putting out there what they're looking for, and people are putting out there, you know, they're reaching out to each other. Now, it works to a degree for someone like a generator, because somebody puts out there, this is what I'm looking for, and I can say, oh, do I want to respond to that ad or profile or not? So that's a lot different than if I see a person and walk up to them and, you know, act like I'm responding to them wanting somebody, and that's when you find out like they're married or they're busy or they're not into the same sex, you know, they're into the same sex or whatever. So I'm just trying to show a difference of something that you're responding to as opposed to something you think you're responding to. So if I see somebody on a dating site, I know or can assume that that person is available, that person isn't with somebody else, that person is looking for what they say they're looking for, and I can check with myself to see if I should reach out to that person. Unlike when you're in a bar and you see somebody standing at the bar and you walk over to them and you start talking to them, you don't know why they're there. They could be there with their partner, they could be there, you know, whatever. So that, I hope that shows like an example of that. The other thing I just wanted to point out quick, because I know this is going a little long, and maybe it's okay that it goes long because it's about a certain topic, is that we pull to each other what we don't have. So I'm going to show you an instance where it's called an electromagnetic, and I'm going to move this really quick. And hopefully... Okay, so I'm going to try to explain electromagnetics to you. This is my chart right here. No, I'm not wearing a hat. That's to hide the name of the other person's chart that I'm going to be showing you. And here is the other person's chart. So as you can see, the other person is very open, and my chart is quite defined. What happens here is that in a relationship, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of openness, a lot of definition, whatever the case may be. What the goal is to get power from some of these centers that are considered motors to the throat so that you're able to communicate better. If you notice, my head is connected to my throat, and that's all well and good. I have a lot of thoughts and stuff that need to get out, but what happens is I need to wait until I'm asked, or the ideas that I give out or that I mention are going to seem a little crazy to people. Anyone who knows me knows this is true, and I can't say I've mastered it, but I have a lot of fun with it. Now, this person over here has an open throat. They're actually a projector. They don't have the sacral center, and they don't have any energy going to the throat. So they are best heard when they wait to be asked, when they're invited into a conversation. So projectors are wonderful at management, and they're very wise beyond their years. And a lot of times they don't even know what information they know until they're saying it. But there's a big difference between when you say to somebody like this, you know, I always use my baby didn't sleep last night. So my baby didn't sleep last night. A projector is going to tell you probably 57,000 reasons why and what you can do to make that baby sleep. Except when I said it, I didn't ask. I was just stating something. My baby didn't sleep last night. Didn't require any kind of response. So all I heard was blah, 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 know it all, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I went up to the same projector and said, hey, you know, my baby didn't sleep last night. Do you know, what I should look at to find out why? They will give you those same 57,000 reasons, except this time you're going to hear each and every word because you're open to the information because you asked for the information. So that's something in relationship that actually comes up a lot and has to do with types and how the types relate to one another. Now, that doesn't mean if you're two projectors, you can't have a conversation and you never go out to eat, because a generator as well as a projector, you have to wait for things to respond to, and you have to wait for invitations. Being a generator, I can give people things to respond to. What I can't do is push them to respond in the manner that I wanted them to, which again is a huge issue. For a projector, they can put out the invitation, but if the invitation is ignored or refused, they should not put out 57 more invitations just to get what they're trying to get. So, put whatever it is out there, wait for somebody to respond to it, and whatever that response is, deal. Sometimes you have to be patient waiting for those people to respond to things that you put out there as well, but we'll get into that. So anyway, here are these two charts. Now, if you take those two charts and put them together, you end up with a different chart. This chart shows a lot more definition. If you see, my chart didn't have the G center defined. Now it is, because the energy of the 10 connects with the energy of my 34. The will center stays open, in which, in this particular relationship, matters of the heart, matters of willpower, those would all be places that this relationship can grow and learn. The spleen on the other guy's chart was open. In relationship with me, it would end up connecting this electromagnetic and creating a spleen here. That in and itself has its own little issues, because it brings some energy that the other person, hold on one second, I just want to see something for a minute. Yeah, the other person didn't have. The spleen center is a fear center, so all these blue lines are me. And over here, if you notice, there isn't any here. A defined spleen comforts an undefined spleen. These fear gates are brought over here as well, which would make this person a little more fearful when they're in my presence than when they're not. Even though there's a comfort in that splenic energy. Always push through fear unless it's life or death. That's just a side note. Now here is sacral energy. This person is a projector. They do not have sacral energy. In my presence, in this particular relationship with me, here's another electromagnetic that defines that sacral center for that other person. They need breaks from me. They're going to feel my life force energy. It's going to be like a motor running 24/7. If I slept in the same room, in the same bed with this person for months and months and months, this person would get so aggravated and probably not even understand why. So right there, that shows in a relationship where there has to be some understanding, because my energy, although some of it is comforting, some brings a little bit more fear, and that open center here, that open sacral center, is going to need a rest from who I am, or who my energy is, or what my energy is. So I hope that makes some sense. I hope that if you have questions, you'll ask them, because I really want to explore this information. I hope that you understood what I was explaining in the beginning. And I mean, really, when you guys ask questions, it makes me delve deeper in, so I get the answers to things that I may not know or understand completely. So it's a give and take kind of situation, and that's why I love doing these videos. But if you can remember, electromagnetics are a channel that connect only in relationship. So this was his energy, this is my energy, and now the energy comes together. And the same with these. They all have different energetic components that add or take away from a relationship, but don't get discouraged. Every relationship can work with awareness. What you just have to really make sure of is that you're following your strategy when you enter into these relationships. So again, if you don't have your chart, send me a private message, an email, whatever, with your date, time, and location of your birth, or the closest to any of those you can get me, and I can make charts for you and for another person or a couple people at no charge. With that, you will get the summary of your type and strategy, and hopefully you will be able to follow along with these videos. All right, thanks.